Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, where I help you strategize to win so you can expect to win. I'm Carla Harris, and let's get started. One of the most important things that you can do to accelerate your success in your career, whatever your career might happen to be, is to take risks. Risk-taking is extremely important because that is how you grow. And that is also how you show other people that you are ready for the next level. When you take risks, you expose yourself to the opportunity to learn more than what is so easily or clearly defined in your career vertical. Taking risks allows you also not only to learn new things about your profession, but also to learn a little bit about yourself. But as I think about why people are so fearful of taking risks, that is the operative word. It's fear. And hear me clearly, and one of my favorite sayings, fear has no place in your success equation. I'll say it again. Fear has no place in your success equation. Anytime you approach anything in your life, personally or professionally, from a position of fear, you're going to always underpenetrate that opportunity. Anytime I feel fear creeping up the back of my neck, I remind myself of that old Southern saying, fear is just false evidence of things appearing real. It's really not there. What's the worst that can happen if you take a risk and it doesn't work out? So you fail. But guess what? Failure always brings you a gift. And that gift is called experience. Now you know how to do it better. Now you know how to do it differently. Now you know how to do it successfully. At the margin, it is always worth taking the risk. And remember this. Every time you try anything or take a risk, you get one of two things. You get the blessing or you get the lesson. Either you get that thing which you were going for in the first place, the blessing, or you get the lesson. You know how to do it differently now or how to approach it a little bit differently. I remember the first time I took a big risk in my career. I was probably in my early 30s, and I was probably about 5 or 6 years into my career. And I took a risk, and it didn't work out. And the risk that I took was I allocated a transaction according to what I thought I should do. And it was something called a naked short. And I won't get into all of the language around pricing transactions on a Wall Street deal. But let's just say the risk that I took was that I wasn't really sure about what I was doing, but I didn't ask anybody. And I just went for it anyway. And it didn't work out. Wow, it was a costly mistake. And there was somebody who was talking about that mistake so much that it clearly looked like it could be a career-limiting mistake. But after about 2 or 3 days of hearing that person go on and on and on about what a big error this was, I actually took that person in the conference room and I said, I understand that this was a big mistake. I wanted to talk to you because I didn't know if you knew how serious I knew that that was. But I do know I didn't understand. I won't ever do that again. If I don't understand something, I will ask the question. But what you should also understand about me is if I make a mistake, it is the exception. It is not the rule. And I know you have my best interests at heart. So we don't need to talk about this anymore, right? And that was the last time anything was said about that particular mistake. But what did I learn from that? The first lesson that I learned was that if you don't know something, ask someone. There is absolutely no shame in that game. Everybody does something for the first time, and either it is successful right out of the gate or it's not. The second thing that I learned is if you make a mistake, own it. I should have been out there making a big deal about not understanding and having made a huge mistake. But because I hung my head and didn't say anything, I allowed somebody else to own my narrative. Never let anybody else own your narrative. The third thing I learned is if you have someone that's making a big deal out of it and behaving like a bully, call them out. Because whenever you call somebody out that is behaving like a bully, you say, I see you. And at that moment, you take away all of their power. Taking risks is critical if you want to move up in the organization. By the time you get to the top of an organization, you should have very strong skills around not only taking risks, but being able to discern when it is a risk worth taking. And the only way that you are going to build that muscle is to repeatedly take risks throughout your career. There are risks that you may take in taking on a certain kind of assignment. There are risks that you take in exercising your voice in a meeting. There are risks that you take in speaking up for someone else, using your power on someone else's behalf. There are risks that you take when you take on an assignment that has never happened in your organization before. All of those examples will teach you something. All of those examples will allow you to accelerate in your career. Remember this about making mistakes. There are very few things in life that are irreparable. Most things can be fixed. Very few things are irreparable. So don't shy away. Don't hesitate from taking risks. There are calculated risks where you know if you do this action or this action, these are the only outcomes that could happen. Those are what I call calculated risks. You are very clear on what happens if you take an action, what the reaction or the result might be. There are also what I call studied risks, where you're not quite sure what the outcomes could be, or there could be several different outcomes to one action. But you still believe that if any one of these things happen, it is still worth your while for having executed the risks. Those are called studied risks, where you come to the conclusion that the benefits of having tried are greater than the negatives if it does not go the way you would like it to go. And then there's what I call step out on faith risks, where you have absolutely no idea what the outcome could be, but just the try is worth it in your mind because of the experience you will have in the execution, or the people that you will be exposed to, or the networks that you could build just because you put yourself in that space with no idea of what could happen. Calculated risks, studied risks, and step out on faith risks. If you want to know more about those risks, you can find that in chapter 7 of my first book, Expect to Win. At the end of the day, I have never taken a risk in my career where there wasn't a huge benefit, even if it did not go well. As I said, every time you take a try, every time you take a risk, at a minimum, you get the experience of having done it. And that is worth it all day long. Go get 'em. Expect to win. If you would like to see more videos and get a few more of my pearls, then like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.